We can see that China has also made some truly unimaginable blunders. For example, it ramped up anti-Japanese propaganda to astronomical proportions and paid the price for it. And today it's already a fact that Japan has adopted an unprecedented military budget, which in effect brought military spending to 2% of GDP 2 years ahead of schedule. And several specific rearmament programs have already been officially announced, which prominently include the development of new, advanced missiles, both those domestically produced and those acquired through purchases from the United States, as well as the implementation of a comprehensive, multi-layered drone defense system, modern submarines, and indeed, first and foremost, a significant strengthening of the Navy, in addition to its supporting aviation capabilities. In other words, you saw before you a country that for 80 years had pursued an orthodox peaceful policy. You have succeeded in making it abandon that policy. Now deal with the consequences. So, what will the United States get in return? Unfortunately, they too will face a lot of trouble. The only question is when these troubles will arise and in what form. But they are inevitable because such a structure is not balanced, since beneath these two countries lies a huge number of medium-sized states. And below them there is a whole cloud of regional states, as it's called in the classic theory of international relations. There are middle powers and there are regional powers. So this is now the structure, a mess really, in which we need to see the building of relationships. What is missing is precisely this building of relationships.
Mm-hmm. And regarding what you said about Japan, well, basically, it means that the Japanese have already realized that the Americans are, well, only present in the region to a certain extent. And if something happens, Japan will be left one-on-one. So essentially, they need to forge their own regional alliances, just like Germany does. Germany is facing exactly the same dilemma, because for both Germany and Japan, the core, the axis of their security was their relationship with the United States. And now, accordingly, there is no trust in them anymore. Someone told me during one of the previous broadcasts, well, if Trump loses or if the Republicans lose and the Democrats come to power, everything can be reversed. But I think it's already impossible to turn anything back.
I think, unfortunately, these changes are, in fact, enormous. Yes, but let me get back to the point. You absolutely noticed this correctly. This is something we have to accept as a given, that it was Germany in Europe and Japan in Asia. These are the two countries that after World War II bore, so to speak, the entire burden of guilt for what happened during that time. Although there was no fascism or Nazism in Japan, there was militarism, and they certainly caused a lot of trouble. But afterwards, both countries, with their respective governments and populations, made truly tremendous and concerted efforts to serve as a shining, positive example for other nations around the globe. And Germany, as we know very well from historical accounts and contemporary observations, was, and indeed remains to this very day, the primary energizer and driving force of the entire European Union, its main economic engine, and a significant financial sponsor. Similarly, Japan is one of the most prominent and influential countries that consistently helps other developing nations in the Asian region and actively provides substantial assistance and support. Both of these countries have now changed their policies, one because of Russia in Europe, the other because of China, Russia, and North Korea in Asia. In other words, you have awakened two countries with very strong traditions of producing excellent weaponry, strategic planning, and extremely thorough military organization. We understand that this has been ingrained in the Germans for centuries. It's in their genes. It wasn't just under Hitler. Even before that, thank God, they were by no means a weak link in Europe. Now they've essentially returned. Thankfully, the ideology of fascism is gone. But the understanding that security, first and foremost, is in their own hands, that remains. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now it's necessary to build relationships because it's not entirely clear how relations with the United States will be established. The United States told Europe that it should prepare quietly, as was reported in various credible sources, that they secretly told Europe, you should get ready. In 2027, we will withdraw conventional weapons, American troops. We will withdraw from Europe. Withdrawing from Europe means withdrawing from Germany. So it seems they're keeping the nuclear umbrella, but they're withdrawing regular units of the US Armed Forces. The same kind of discussion is happening in Asia. Where and what kind of contingent should be stationed? And at a certain point last year, and even this year, there were talks that, for example, the contingent in Korea should be reduced. Japan wasn't mentioned directly, but the Japanese understood the message very well. They ultimately realized that even if the United States of America continues to steadfastly uphold its crucial defense commitments for quite some considerable time into the foreseeable future, ultimately, in the unfortunate event of a direct and unprovoked attack, Japan would inevitably have to courageously defend its own sovereign territory and its national integrity. And that's why, without wasting a single day, as soon as Takeshi became prime minister, they, I know this for a fact, began working on very serious strategic plans for a multi-layered and echelon defense, especially of their air and maritime borders. Naturally, because for Japan this is, well, it's simply a matter of life and death. A naval blockade of Japan would mean its suffocation. That's why the point is that combat operations should be conducted not 200 miles or kilometers from the shore, but 1,000. And because they understand that anything they allow closer than that will mean drones, it will mean an attack involving an amphibious landing. And all of that is very bad. That's why it's necessary to keep any aggressor at a distance of 1,000 kilometers. And as you can imagine, that's a completely different story. You need the appropriate missiles, the appropriate radar systems. And of course, there must also be drones and aircraft capable of striking the enemy at such a distance. And this, you see, I can tell you, I've been in Japan for 5 years. And these last 3 months, you just can't believe your eyes. Before, they used to talk about this quietly, calmly. Now it's mainstream politics. And what's more, attention, Takaichi enjoys the support of 92% of young Japanese. That's absolutely unheard of.
Yes.